India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in the Dutch city of The Hague as part of a wider European tour of the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy. A huge police presence was deployed in London to handle two opposing rallies as well as the FA Cup final. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in the Dutch city of The Hague on Saturday as part of a wider European tour of the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy. Modi met with the Dutch King and Queen, Foreign Minister Tom Berendsen, as well as CEOs of major Dutch companies for lunch at the Royal Palace. Later, he was scheduled to meet with Dutch Prime Minister Rob Jetten to sign a cooperation agreement. He also addressed members of the Indian diaspora living in the Netherlands. Modi is looking to deepen bilateral ties with European partners as the world looks for alternative markets following U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. In January, the EU and India already signed a free trade agreement where both sides reduced duties on goods exports. During Modi's visit to Sweden, he is set to address the European Roundtable for Industry alongside European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. A huge police presence was deployed in London on Saturday in one of its largest operations in recent years to handle two opposing rallies as well as the FA Cup final. Tens of thousands attended a rally organized by far-right activist Tommy Robinson, while another several thousand protesters held an annual demonstration to commemorate the Nakba, which marks the expulsion of some 700,000 Palestinians during the creation of Israel in 1948. Armored vehicles, police horses, dogs, drones and helicopters were deployed along with at least 4,000 officers as the Metropolitan Police aimed to avoid clashes. As of early afternoon, police said several people were arrested without specifying from which protest. Meanwhile, police warned the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester City, which kicked off on Saturday, could strain the policing operation. They voiced fears about football hooligan groups which have previously supported Robinson showing up. The marches took place at a particularly radicalized time in British politics, with parties on the far right and left advancing across the UK in elections last week. At least one person was killed in Ukraine's Kherson in an overnight Russian attack that targeted multiple regions across the country. In Kherson, another 23 people were injured after Russian strikes damaged multiple high-rise residential buildings as well as houses. In the Odessa, Kharkiv, and Sumy regions, more critical and civilian infrastructure was targeted, including residential buildings as well as power and transport facilities. Ukraine's Air Force said 294 drones were launched by Russia overnight, adding that 269 of them were shot down. On Friday, 205 prisoners of war were exchanged as part of a deal announced by U.S. President Donald Trump last week that led to a three-day ceasefire. On Saturday, the bodies of 528 Ukrainian soldiers were also returned. Since the truce expired on Tuesday, Russia and Ukraine have traded attacks, the latest being a massive attack on Kyiv on Wednesday and Thursday that killed at least 24 people.
36 countries have signed up to a special tribunal to prosecute Russian President Vladimir Putin for the crime of aggression against Ukraine during the annual meeting of foreign affairs ministers of the Council of Europe in Moldova. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha hailed the decision and referred to the Nuremberg trials of surviving Nazi leaders in comparison. He added that Putin will be remembered in history as a criminal. The tribunal will work alongside a damage register collecting claims from victims of Russia's aggression and a claims commission that will assess those claims and decide compensation. The initiative was launched because the International Criminal Court can only prosecute the crime of aggression if the country involved is a member. Unlike war crimes or genocide, the crime of aggression targets top leaders, not individual soldiers. Responsibility lies with those who control the state. But as long as they remain in office, Putin and other top leaders cannot be tried in their absence.